football attendances, in terms of an average figure, have never been higher in the top flight of English football than they are right now. However, many of the division's record attendances still hail from a bygone era of terraces, tickets that cost pennies, and grounds not having regulated maximum capacities. Today we're going to take a look at the all-time record attendance of every Premier League club, going from the lowest to the highest. The records may be set in any competition, so long as it was considered a home game for the club in question, not a game at a neutral venue of course, and I suspect there may be some surprises to a lot of people in here. If this video is a success, I'd be more than happy to make a similar one for the Championship, so just let me know if that's something you would like to see in the comments. Here is every Premier League club ranked by their all-time record attendance. Bournemouth, 28,799. Bournemouth have the smallest stadium in the Premier League, the lowest average attendance, and the lowest all-time record attendance. In fairness to the Cherries, they are a club with no delusions of grandeur. Predominantly a third and fourth tier club over the last century, Bournemouth have played at Dean Court since 1910. The ground has a current capacity of just 11,329, but Bournemouth's all-time record attendance is well over double that. That record was set in March 1957 when Bournemouth faced Manchester United in the quarter-finals of the FA Cup. Manchester United won the game, but went on to lose in the FA Cup final to Aston Villa. Southampton, 32,363. There's a fairly sizable jump up from Bournemouth in 20th to our next entrance in 19th, but we remain rooted to the south coast of England. Unlike Bournemouth, Southampton are no strangers to top-flight football, and they were FA Cup winners back in 1976. The Saints' record attendance was set at their new home St Mary's, with a record attendance of 32,363, narrowly exceeding the 31,044 which crammed into the Dell back in 1969. Southampton's record attendance was set in April 2012 for a championship game against Coventry City, where a 4-0 win saw the Saints win promotion back to the Premier League. Watford, 34,099. Founded in 1881, Watford have been playing at Vicarage Road since 1922, so it's no particular surprise that their record attendance was set in their current home. Completing the relegation zone of Premier League clubs when it comes to record attendances, Vicarage Road isn't the biggest, and Watford's all-time record attendance is 34,099. That came in a 1969 FA Cup fourth round replay against Manchester United, which Watford lost 2-0, and it's considerably more than the ground's current capacity of 22,220. Brighton, 36,747. The Amex Stadium, which opened in 2011, is an excellent venue for Brighton and Hove Albion, and one which has helped the club grow and propel them into the Premier League. The Amex has a maximum capacity and a record attendance a touch lower than 31,000. However, whilst Brighton's record attendance is just shy of 37,000. That record was set at the Goldstone Ground, Brighton's home from 1902 to 1997 for a second division game against Fulham in December 1958. Brighton's record attendance roared the club onto a 3-0 win, but it was Fulham who went on to win promotion to the first division at the end of that season. Norwich City, 43,984. There's a jump of more than 7,000 between Brighton in 17th and Norwich in 16th, with the Canaries having set a record attendance of 43,984 at Carrow Road in March 1963. The scene was another FA Cup quarter-final as Norwich hosted Leicester, but it was the Foxes who progressed to the last four. Leicester went on to reach the final, where they were beaten 3-1 by Manchester United. Leicester City, 47,298. Leicester's King Power Stadium, which has been their home since 2002, isn't a particularly small ground with a capacity of over 32,000. The Foxes' record attendance was set at their former home of Filbert Street way back in 1928 though. Once again, it was an FA Cup tie, and if this video displays anything, it is the sad demise of the FA Cup in the eyes of the English football public over the years. There were 47,298 fans who crammed into Filbert Street to see Leicester lose 3-0 to Tottenham in the 1927-28 FA Cup fifth round, but Spurs themselves would be thrashed 6-1 by Huddersfield Town in the next round. Crystal Palace, 51,482. Up into 14th place, we have the first team in this video to exceed the 50,000 mark. Selhurst Park may have a capacity of 25,486 now, but you could squeeze roughly double that into the old ground at its peak. Palace's record attendance was set in May 1979 for a second division game between themselves and Burnley. It was the final game of the 1978-79 season, and Palace knew a draw would see them promoted and a victory would see them crowned as champions. They won 2-0 with an official attendance of 51,482 watching on from the terraces. Burnley, 54,775. No team takes us further back in time than Burnley in this video, yet the Clarets were still playing at Turf Moor when they set their record attendance in February 1924. One of the oldest grounds still in existence, Turf Moor has been Burnley's home since 1883, and it used to be able to accommodate significantly more than the stadium's current capacity of just 21,944. Burnley's record attendance also came in the FA Cup as the club beat Huddersfield Town 1-0 in the fourth round, and they went on to reach the semi-finals. West Ham, 59,870. Bringing us forward just the 95 years from a record attendance set in 1924 to one set in 2019, West Ham have the most recently set record attendance in the division. West Ham swapped Upton Park for the former Olympic Stadium, now the London Stadium, in 2016. It is a move which wasn't universally popular among Hammers supporters, but it has seen West Ham smash their former record attendance. The new record was set for West Ham's first game of the current campaign against Manchester City, in which Manuel Pellegrini's side were put to the sword in a 5-0 defeat to his former employers. Wolves, 61,315. Three-time champions of England, Wolverhampton Wanderers enjoyed their golden era in the 1950s, but their record attendance was set in 1939. You shouldn't be surprised by now when I tell you that it was an FA Cup tie, as the club hosted Liverpool in the fifth round of England's Premier knockout competition. Wolves ran out as 4-1 winners in front of more than 60,000 people, and they went all the way to the final before being humbled by Portsmouth in front of more than 99,000 people at Wembley. Liverpool, 61,905. Just as Wolves' record attendance was set in an FA Cup tie against Liverpool, Liverpool's record attendance was set during an FA Cup tie against Wolves, and fewer than 600 spectators separate the two records. Liverpool's record was set 13 years later in 1952, this time for a fourth round tie, which saw the Reds come out on top by 2-1. Anfield was only recently expanded to over 53,000, but there are reportedly plans to expand once again to over 61,000, so it's possible that Liverpool's record could be under threat in the years to come. Sheffield United, 68,287. It's quite interesting to note that Liverpool, who are either the most or second most successful club in English football, depending on which trophies you count, comes slap bang in the middle of this list in 10th, one place below recently promoted Sheffield United. The Blades have made a sensational return to the top flight this season, but Bramall Lane has a capacity just a little over 32,000 these days. The oldest major stadium on earth which is still hosting football, Sheffield United's record attendance at Bramall Lane is a significant jump from Liverpool's record attendance. More than 68,000 fans witnessed the Blades beating Yorkshire rivals Leeds United 3-1 in the FA Cup fourth round in February 1936, as the club went on to reach the final where they were beaten by Arsenal. Newcastle United, 68,386. Just 99 fans separate Sheffield United in 9th and Newcastle United in 8th, with Newcastle's record attendance also having been set in the 1930s. Remarkably, the Magpies' record wasn't set in the FA Cup, but was in fact set during a First Division game against Chelsea. It was Newcastle's first home game of the 1930-31 season, and they beat the Londoners 1-0, courtesy of a Jack Cape winner. Arsenal, 73,707. Arsenal have had one of the great historic grounds in English football in the form of Highbury, and one of the best modern stadia in the form of the Emirates, yet their record home attendance wasn't set at either of them. During the 1998-99 and 1999-2000 seasons, with Arsenal looking to move away from Highbury, the club played their Champions League games at the old Wembley Stadium. Arsenal looked to move into the soon-to-be-demolished ground permanently, but their requests were denied, and it would prove to be a miserable arena for the club. A far cry from the intimate setting of Highbury, Arsenal were poor at the National Stadium and moved back after 2 seasons of European football there. But they did set their record attendance of 73,707 for a group stage game against Lens, which Arsenal lost 1-0. Aston Villa, 76,588. The joint 5th most successful club in English football, Aston Villa were particularly prolific when it came to hoovering up trophies during the 1890s. The club's record attendance, however, was set in March 1946. Yes, it was in the FA Cup, with Villa having won 13-3 on aggregate against Millwall earlier in the competition. The attendance of 76,588 was set for the first leg of Villa's quarter-final against Derby County, but the club lost 4-3 to the Rams, who went on to lift the trophy at Wembley with a victory over Charlton. Everton, 78,299. Everton have been playing at Goodison Park since 1892, so perhaps it should come as a little surprise that the club has expressed an interest in building a new ground now. There can be no doubt that Goodison is one of English football's most historic venues, and the Toffees have the 5th highest record attendance of any Premier League club. That record of over 78,000 was set in September 1948 for a First Division match against their Merseyside rivals Liverpool. The match ended in stalemate, with club legends Jock Dodds and Willie Fagan scoring one apiece for either side. Manchester United, 81,962. For the vast majority of the Premier League era, Old Trafford has been the largest stadium in the Premier League. That is the case right now, with the Theatre of Dreams having a maximum capacity of just shy of 75,000. Manchester United moved into Old Trafford in 1910, but they had to spend 4 years playing at their rivals Manchester City's home ground Maine Road, following damage sustained to Old Trafford during the Second World War. It was during this brief period at Maine Road that the Red Devils set their record attendance, when a crowd in excess of 80,000 witnessed a 1-1 draw between themselves and Arsenal in 1948. Arsenal went on to win the First Division title that season, with United as runners-up. Chelsea, 82,905. Moving into the top 3, and those who claim Chelsea had no fans prior to 2003 or 2004 will have to answer why the club's record attendance, which is the 3rd highest in English football, was set way back in 1935. Stamford Bridge is as old as Chelsea itself, with the club having been founded so that the ground would have an occupant. The stadium's record attendance set in the 1935-36 First Division campaign was a 1-1 draw between Chelsea and Arsenal. Manchester City, 84,569. Maine Road is the only stadium in this video with 2 inclusions, having hosted the games in which both Manchester City and Manchester United set their record attendances. Man City played at Maine Road from 1923 to 2003, and the stadium's record attendance was set in March 1934. There were 3 very good reasons for the bumper crowd. 1, it was an FA Cup quarter-final. 2, Man City were playing very well at the time. And 3, Stanley Matthews. Man City hosted Stoke City, and almost 85,000 people witnessed Matthews' Stoke lose 1-0 to the hosts, who went on to lift the FA Cup at the end of the season. Tottenham, 85,512. As with their North London rivals Arsenal, Tottenham have had 2 notable grounds over the years, White Hart Lane and now the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, yet their record home attendance was set at Wembley Stadium. Unlike Arsenal, Tottenham never used the old Wembley as their home ground, but they did play at the new Wembley very recently, whilst their new ground was being built essentially on the same site as White Hart Lane. Wembley is the largest current stadium in the United Kingdom, and Tottenham's record attendance at the National Stadium was in excess of 85,000 for a Champions League group stage match against Bayer Leverkusen. It was during the 2016-17 season, Tottenham's last at White Hart Lane, and their first taste of playing home games at Wembley only in European competition, that they set the record, and despite losing that game 1-0, it does mean they hold the record of the biggest home attendance ever registered by an English club. That's it for today's video. Congratulations on making it to the end of the video. Since you've got this far, and in exchange for eternal good luck and happiness, why not subscribe and turn on notifications for the ever brilliant HITC Sevens. Also, for mobile users, if you click on your screen now, there should be some suggestions of other videos YouTube thinks you might like, and I agree with YouTube. If you're watching on desktop, they should appear of their own accord. Thank you all for watching, give us a like if you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a brilliant day.